Hello everyone and welcome back to World of Warplanes. This time we'll be taking a look at the XF-85 Goblin, and this is going to be a slightly different battle review thing just because I simply don't have the plane, so this is going to be a little bit strange. But going off of what I've seen, and also I have a review sent in by a special someone that I will reveal at the gameplay section. But anyway, back to the point. Let's check out the history. Then I'll do a quick rundown of the stats of the plane, kind of give you something to think about during the gameplay, something to look out for during the gameplay section. So let's start. So first off, this plane is quite ugly looking. This will probably be my thumbnail, or maybe this one. If you guys haven't known, this is actually the World of Warplanes website. So if you go and click on the Warplanes tab and then you click on Nations and Aircraft, you can choose whatever aircraft you want, find the aircraft, and it gives you a whole rundown, which is actually a very nice feature. I do like it. There's also a compare aircraft feature, which is awesome as well. Yeah, so I'll probably look at that as well, just to kind of give you guys more of a idea as to how this plane flies. But let's look at the history real quick and then we'll jump into the stats. Developed as a parasite fighter designed to be carried by a heavy bomber and defend the latter against enemy attacks. It underwent trials in 1948 to 1949, but it never entered service. 2 prototypes were handed over to museums. Alright, that's pretty cool. So 2 prototypes do exist. It was designed to be launched from the bomb bay of bombers, and basically, you know, when they get near enemy territory, they launch this fighter. It gives them some support, and then when the fighter was done, it would remount itself into the bomber, and the bomber would pull it into the bomb bay. At least that's what Zem from Shrike Gaming says. So I'll leave a video or link to his video if you want to know more about the history. He does a very good job at running down the history of the plane. But with that being said, let's take a look at what Wargaming says about the plane. First off, it says a plus of this plane is it's got machine gun armament, effective in close combat. Alright, what kind of machine guns are we talking about? We're talking about 50 cals. We get 450 cals at tier 9. That's as bad as you think it is. It is not a good point of the plane. It says it's effective in close combat. It's because you're not going to be able to hit anywhere else. You have to be close in order to hit planes. You can't do anything else. So we'll get back to that, but just keep that in mind. It's got low survivability. Low survivability as in only 350 hit points. That is tragic. A rating of 11. That is horrific at tier 9. And it's got a vulnerable engine. By vulnerable engine, they mean it is seriously vulnerable. This engine is constantly getting knocked out, and it's just a serious downfall of the engine. Unfortunately, you're gonna need to carry a pneumatic restarter because this thing gets its engine destroyed literally all the time. It's got high airspeed. Higher speed as in, yeah, 72 rating. That's good. I don't know. I don't use metric that often, so I don't know if those are good numbers, but you can look at them if you want. It's got incredible airspeed, though. It feels really good, and its engine accelerates very quickly while boosting. Yes, I was just about to talk about that. It is exceptional at boosting. It's only got like 6 seconds boost, 6 or 8. I think it's 6, but I don't have the plane, so I'm not positive. But when it does boost, you are forcing it into the red for airspeed almost all the time, just because it's got exceptional boost, and it's very fast to begin with. So this plane does hunt heavy fighters extremely well. That's kind of the bread and butter of what this plane wants to shoot. If you can chase heavy fighters in this plane, do so, because they just simply won't be able to get away from you. Even tier 10 ones you can keep up with when you're holding down that boost, and it is It's very nice. Anyway, let's go to the next one. It's got great maneuverability in horizontal turns. That is true, and that's something that's different than the J8M. By looking at this plane, you would think it plays similarly to the J8M at Tier 8, but it simply doesn't. It actually has decent maneuverability. So you can check out the maneuverability. One thing to note, it's got a 72 rating and a rate of roll in 180 degrees per second. That is exceptional. If you guys saw my I-16E and I-16L reviews, you also note that those had 180 degrees per second roll rate. But those were Tier 3 and Tier 4 machines, right where those biplanes are. It was a monoplane, but you know, back at that early tiers, and I said that was exceptional down at that tier. You get that rate of roll at Tier 9, and there's really no words to describe how awesome that is. There are very, very few planes that can claim a comparable roll rate to this at Tier 9. So that is definitely one of those strong points of the plane. And then also it's very effective at intercepting aircraft at high altitude. That is true because it has an altitude performance rating of 86 and an optimum altitude of 2,600 meters. 2,600, 8,500 feet. Yeah, that's really good. 8,500 feet before you get in the yellow zone. You're not going to be having an issue with altitude. You can go as high as you want. Wherever any plane may go, you can go there better and probably easier. So, it's got great altitude performance. And then it's also, because it's a premium, you get increased credit and experience income per battle. More so than a Tier 8 plane. So, if you want to make credits, this is the plane for you. However, I do not recommend this plane at all. There is zero redeeming features about this plane. It is very maneuverable, I'll give it that. It's got an amazing engine, and it's got amazing altitude performance. Those are its three main things. But these 50 cals suck at Tier 10. Yeah, they're decent. People are like, oh, they actually kill planes decently. Only if you can get behind them and stay behind them. You're not able to just get behind someone and take them out quickly. This plane requires you to boost in behind an enemy plane, sit at their tail, hold down the brakes so you don't overshoot them because you're so fast, and then you're just trying to match their movements and keep your guns on them for 10, 15, 20 seconds trying to shoot the dumb thing down. And at Tier 9, when you have all those veteran bots zipping and dodging and weaving and up and down and all around, you're really going to have a nightmare time trying to stay on target, and that's what this plane requires. You have to stay very close to the enemy, and you have to keep with them for several seconds before you can shut them down most of the time. Surely, you know, if plane's weakened already, yeah, fine, you can kill them. Or if they're distracted and they're chasing someone and they're not really pulling away, then yeah, you'll kill them quickly. But more times out of not, or like 9 times out of 10, you're going to be in a situation where you're trying to shoot down a dodging, ducking, weaving, maneuvering buffoon bot because, you know, they just can't sit still for 2 seconds, can they? And trying to sit on their tail for several seconds trying to hit these guns on their tail is just a living nightmare. And on top of that, you have no survivability for your tier. Your engine, your wings, your pilot constantly getting killed. It is just not that great. If the guns were really good, like if you had 420s and all the rest of the characteristics, or if you had at least 6 of these machine guns, then maybe I could recommend it, because it wouldn't take you too long to stay behind. It would still have less firepower than some planes, but you know, you could make it work. But only having 450 cals at tier 9 is just unacceptable. You can't do anything with that. And it is just very bad. It's not good news. You don't have bombs, you don't have rockets, and you know, you have this airspeed that you would assume would allow you to just zip in, get a couple quick shots, and zip away, just like the J8M, right? But you can't. Your guns don't allow you to. You have to stay behind your target. And when you're trying to stay on someone's tail, well, think about this. Now that you're sitting on someone's tail for several seconds, now you're making yourself a super easy target. So if any enemy plane wants to be like, oh, my ally is getting chased, maybe I should shut him down, you're going to die. And there's just nothing you can do about it. Even if you just take like 2 or 3 shots, like, you know, you lose 2 or 3 hit points, you lose your engine, your wings and pilot so easily. I don't know what it is with this plane, but it's a serious downfall, and you really do have to be careful. So yes, you do, and you're required to stay close. And you know, the closer you are to a plane, the harder it is to kind of match their speed and keep your guns on target, because any slight movement and your guns just aren't on target. So when you're forced to be that close to targets, it is really difficult to get hits, in my opinion. So yes, you do get increased income per battle, and as you'll see in the battle, you definitely can make credits. It is not an issue, but I just don't think it's good. I don't. If you get a tier 8 premium that you enjoy a lot, and you can consistently get 15,000 combat games, you're going to be making more credits than this plane. And why do I say that? Because you just can't get 15,000 personal point games in this plane. Sure, if you get a 15,000 personal point game in this plane compared to a 15,000 personal point game in a tier 8, you'll be making more money in this. But it's trying to get those good scores in this plane that really does hinder it. I don't think it's very easy at all. And if you just find a tier 8 premium that you really do enjoy and you can do very well, for me that's the Dornier 335. I can consistently get 15,000 games, and usually even higher than that. But bare minimum 15,000 games, especially if it's not Supremacy. If it's Supremacy, that's a totally different situation. But typically you can get those 15,000 games pretty easily. In this plane, you just can't. It takes too long to kill your targets, that getting a decent score is not easy. And because you're a super low survivability and super vulnerable modules and stuff, shooting down bombers and GA, especially when they're human flown, sure, you can keep up with them all day. There's no issue with you keeping up with them. That is not the issue. The issue is you try to get on their tail and they get 2 shots on you. Like, their gun hits you twice. That's it. You lose like 3 hit points at that point, and you've already lost 2 wings and your pilot. It just sucks. If you can get on bot GA, especially lower tier planes, then yeah, of course you're going to kill them just because they're lower tier. But even if it's human flown, you're going to have nightmares. I don't recommend this plane. So, anyway, let's do a quick compare, real quick, of this plane compared to others. It looks like I already have it up, which is nice. I have it compared to the Fury and the Attacker. I did not even realize I had it up already. I was taking screenshots earlier. But I think these 2 planes are probably the most similar to it in more ways than not. First off, I'm going to show you that I have these max stats. So these are not stock planes. The only one that's stock is the Goblin, of course. And this is without any equipment modules, any skills from your pilots, all that kind of great stuff. So if we look at this, first off, it's got the worst gun armament rating, even against the Fury, which is not known to have fantastic armament. But this gets 6. It gets 6 of those guns. I don't know if they're the same guns or not. I'm not entirely sure. But you get 6 rather than 4. So, you know, sure, and I don't think the Fury is very known for killing planes quickly with those 50 cals at tier 9. And this one the Goblin gets 2 less guns, and it just sucks. So gun armament rating, it's not good at all. None of them have bombs and rockets because they're all fighters, comparing them fighter to fighter, not multi-roles. It's lowest survivability by a pretty significant margin. And, you know, these planes are not exactly known for great survivability either, and yet they still have more survivability than this Goblin. It's got less hit points, substantially so. 100 less than the Fury, 90 less than the Attacker. And again, I don't think these planes are known to have great survivability either. I'm sure there's other planes that have much better survivability, and yet the Goblin just is so much lower. Airspeed, the Attacker apparently has a higher airspeed, and the Fury is just barely less than the Goblin. So that into perspective is kind of interesting. I do think the Goblin probably has the most powerful boost out of all of them. It's a short boost, but it's a very, very effective boost. So I know that it's got better boost power. These have longer lasting boosts, but they're not as powerful boosts as the Goblin. But I guess the raw airspeed is really quite negligible compared to the other two. And, okay. So now let's take a look at the top speed at best altitude. Yeah, this plane is fast, but it's not any faster than tier 9s. Look at this. It's basically the same. That boost is where you're which is gonna allow you to keep up with heavy fighters. It's not really difficult to keep up with heavies that hard or that much. You can keep up with them just fine. And then max dive speed is quite comparable as well. It's actually the lowest out of all of them, which is just another thing to keep in mind, right? Now, if we take a look at maneuverability, okay, it does have the best maneuverability out of them. It is the highest maneuverability rating out of any of these planes. But that said, the average time to turn is 360 degrees, or turn 360 degrees is 10.3 seconds for all three of them. So you're not going to be turning in a horizontal turn fight better than anything else. You're just the same. So yeah, you have good maneuverability, but it's not exceptional. The reason this thing has better maneuverability stats is because it has 180 degrees rate of roll. But I mean, look at this. Even the Fury has 150, so I mean, it's not that much worse, right? The Attacker does have a pretty slow rate of roll, but I'll give it that. And that is kind of the speciality of the Goblin. It has an amazing rate of roll. But, ooh, it's got a great rate of roll. That's going to save you in so many situations. So many situations. Optimum airspeed, tied for lowest. So, yeah, that's cool. Stall speed is 200, which is quite low. It is quite nice. You can make that work pretty well. Make planes overshoot you. But again, against these two planes, it's not really that impressive. The Fury has the exact same number, and the Attacker is better. Altitude performance of 86, so again, same as the Fury, slightly better than the Attacker, and I guess that's another point. It does have very nice altitude performance, I'll give it that. I know the Fury has pretty good altitude performance as well, so it's not quite fair to say that the Goblin has bad maneuverability or altitude performance just because the Fury also has good altitude performance. But, I mean, the Attacker's not known for great altitude performance, so you can see that. You are better. That is a strength. As you can see, the altitude performance is the same. And the rate of climb, this plane does have slightly more. And with that boost, you're really going to push that to much higher. So then if we compare it directly to the Fury, it's basically the same as the Fury, only worse. Less survivability, less hit points, slightly more airspeed, same top speed at best altitude, slightly worse max dive speed, slightly more maneuverability, same average time turn, slightly more rate of roll. It's just, this plane is not good enough at tier 9. I just don't think it's great. So, if you want to play a good Goblin, if you want to play a cheap Goblin, if you want to play a Goblin that looks cooler than the Goblin, then play the Fury. For all intents and purposes, it's just a better Fury. Or the Fury is better. I know I'm hating on this plane a lot, but I see people saying it's a good plane, and I wonder, are they players that actually have flown Tier 9 before? Because this plane is not good. It is not forgiving. It requires a very high skill cap. It is probably one of the weakest Tier 9s at Tier 9, and it is really not good. The only redeeming feature is it's the only Tier 9 premium, so it's going to make a crap ton of credits, but it's not worth it. It is not worth it. If you have an RB-17, if you have a Dornier 335, if you have, what other ones are there? IL-10M, then don't get this plane. Just don't. Save yourself $70. That's a serious price tag. $70. Just don't. Don't waste your money. You're going to be consistently getting higher scores in those planes than you are in the Goblin. And they're cheaper. And that means that you're going to be making the same amount of credits as the Goblin. And again, I'll say this again. If you both have 15,000 personal point games, the Goblin will give you more credits. But getting that 15,000 personal point game consistently is much, much harder in the Goblin than it is in those other three planes I mentioned, the RB-17, IL-10M, and whatever the Dornier 335. So if you have those ones, don't get the Goblin. Alright, well, I've talked enough. I think it's about time to jump into some gameplay so that I can prove my points. Alright guys, I actually have, I'm going to go over this as well. As you can see, this is not my standard account. This is actually my brother's account. He doesn't play that much anymore. He really did enjoy pre-2.0, and he didn't play it that much even then. Just because not many people were flying it, and he liked to fly higher tiers, but you know, nobody was flying higher tiers, so he kind of stopped playing. But he was always considered one of the better players at Tier 9. Or really just at, you know, in pre-2.0. If no one really liked to face him, he always got really good scores. So I guess he was kind of the me for pre-2.0. But regardless, the only reason I'm popping up this account is because I want to show off what I would put on my Goblin if I had the Goblin. So, and there's special equipment modules that are only available for American and British planes above Tier 9. So he has the Pirate, which is a Tier 9 American fighter, which is also the same designation as the Goblin. The Goblin is also a Tier 9 American fighter. And because of that, all the same skills for the pilot and the equipment modules and consumables will be the same for your Goblin. And so because of that, I want to be able to use this account to show that off. So, sorry for that long-winded intro. First off, you know, use Universal if you want. I really don't know how much that costs for the Goblin, but if you need to, go for it. I didn't like my brother's setup, so I actually put it on my own setup. Definitely the first aid kit, pneumatic restarter, and control surface adjustment. I think that does work the best. Upgrades, he's got a couple on there. I think the improved radio sight is really good. And improved radio sight is exclusive for American and British planes above Tier 9. And this improved radio sight is fantastic. 15% firing accuracy. For that on the Goblin, I think that's a requirement. Like, that is very, very good. Make sure you have improved radio sight on your Goblin. I usually say improve your accuracy, but for this one, especially so, because that extra 5% firing accuracy for the equipment module, amazing. amazing, amazing. And then also, because the Goblin's not a turn and burn aircraft, I would go lightweight airframe and control surface adjustment 4 to increase your maneuverability even more. So that's the equipment modules I would do. Paint scheme, I really don't know. I don't have the Goblin. And for cruise skills, if you buy it, you're going to get a 9 skill pilot, and that will allow you to get a crap ton of skills. Skills that I would recommend on the Goblin: Marksman 1, Marksman 2, Aerobatics Expert, Aerodynamics Expert. This increases your maneuverability equipment modules, and this increases just maneuverability in general. So do those two, and then I don't know. Getting any more skills beyond that, it's going to be very time consuming. But if you're going to get more, I think resilience is always nice. That's kind of the one I go for. But again, that one I guess could be a little bit, but no, you don't want that. Your weapons never overheat in the Goblin. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly do this to show you guys the setup. On to the gameplay. Alright guys, welcome back to the gameplay section. This is actually from Zem's point of view, so thank you, Zem, for sending it in. Without you sending in this replay, I would not be able to review the Goblin. I would just be like a stats showcase, and I appreciate it. But things to note, just keep in mind that this is a top tier plane. Okay, this is the best matchup you're possibly going to get when you're in a flight. So we're facing tier 8 planes, which means they're slower, they have less hit points, their guns are weaker as well, and it allows your plane to perform better. I think this is probably a tier 8.5, so you're technically better than tier 8s, mainly just because of the airspeed, right? Your airspeed is far superior. Planes won't be able to keep up with you if you try to escape them with your airspeed, especially at tier 8, because planes have lower airspeed. But he's going into the center objective initially, simply due to the fact that he thinks the most targets will be there, which will allow him to stay on target the most. He was really wanted to put this plane to its limit, see what it could do, and try to get me a replay that I could use. Zem is flighted up with Slay in this battle. Slay is using the attacker. It's a fully upgraded attacker, so he used free experience, but it was his first battle, and he actually posted this replay as well on his channel. So if you would like to see the battle from his perspective, I will leave a link in the description to his video as well. This is from Zem's perspective. I'm going to say my just because I'm used to it, but you're going to have to forgive me. We're going to head on with a Yak-15. We do kill him. I don't know if that was a ram or not. KI 162-1. So that is another tier 9 as well. And he has to stay on target for at least 3, 4, 5 seconds before he can kill it. It's torture. When planes are maneuvering, it is quite challenging to stay on target. So here we have a pancake, and the pancake was moving. He probably could have stayed on target a little bit better there, but staying exactly where you need to be for your guns to be hitting for several seconds at a time is just the hardest thing ever to do. We've got the attacker. Very short range guns, as you can see. It's just and the problem with short range guns is, the further away you are, the less damage you're going to be doing. So you're going to have to get as close as you possibly can to the target, which means that any slight movement they do is hard to copy and keep your guns on them. The attacker does make it a little bit easy. He's going down, but he starts turning again and going down, and then Zem just couldn't stay on target anymore. It just sucks. Now we're shooting down a tier 8 plane again. Slay took out the military base, so he has that now as well. And yes, I've just been kind of following the targets, which just kind of led me outside of the airstrip. but it doesn't really matter. I can just stay on target. And man, I'm so sorry guys for saying I all the time, but it's just I'm so used to it. Even though it's Zem's replay, I'm having a hard time saying anything else. Alright, KS 162-1 is dead. Awesome, awesome. So now he's going to go after the Sea Fang, it looks like. Don't really know if there's any other targets for him. He's trying to find the closest one. I guess the Sea Fang is the lucky volunteer. So, come here, Sea Fang. We're going to get you. We're staying on his tail, and he's dead. Awesome. Awesome job. So, Slay and Zem have so far hung on to the airstrip pretty convincingly. The enemy does keep trickling in, but it's not really any major threat. Slay is in the middle now too with an attacker, so really there's no hope of the enemy actually getting anything useful done. It's just not going to work. Not when Slay and I are both top tier and both guarding the center with our lives. It's just not going to happen. Alright, so now Zem and Slay are looking for new targets. The Yak-15 decides, hey, I want some more action again. Zem had perfect opportunity to go head on with him and didn't even do half damage to the Yak-15. And it's super frustrating to have that terrible of guns. It just doesn't work. To go head on, I know not all planes are supposed to go head on, right? But the Yak-15 is known for its horrendous firepower and its horrendous ability to go head on with planes, and to not even be able to do 50% damage to a Yak-15 is just terrible. And you know, it was the right choice to go head on with a Yak-15 because it does have such terrible guns. Your guns probably are slightly better just because you have more of them at tier 9, but that doesn't mean it's a good plane. Zem's trying to do vertical to try to get away from tier 8s, and as you can see, once he ran out of boost, it's still hard to get him off. The planes were able to stay on his tail for long periods of time. He's still trying to climb because the Sea Fang is still on his tail for some reason. Looks like the Sea Fang finally is broken off, so now he's able to come down, and this is where it's golden, right? If you can get those situations where you lure the enemy with terrible altitude performance straight up and to the point where they stall, and you flip down around them, you can kill them super easily. But the problem I have with that is you don't have the health to do that. If the enemy gets just a couple good shots on you before you get too far away, then they'll kill you before they even stall out. So then your trick is dead. Yak-15, easy kill. So yeah, that guy did go down pretty quickly, and as you can see, if you can get your guns to be on target for a couple of seconds, they do die quickly. But that is the caveat. You have to get on them for several seconds, and it's very hard. It's a combination of hold down the W key to get some boost so you can get up behind them. Oh, they're going super slow. Alright, hit the brakes, slam on the brakes. Oh, they're flipping around. Oh, gotta keep dodging, ducking and dodging, ducking and dodging. It just does not work very well. So, you know, I'm a little, maybe it's a little bit because I don't have the plane. Maybe it's, I'm just, you know, sore that I don't have the plane and they're selling tier 9 premiums, but you know, I don't have most premiums in general, so I don't think that's the issue here. I just think that this plane is undergunned. Despite what other people say, I don't think the guns on it are useful. As you can see, Zem did plow into the side of the mountain because he was on very low health, and when you have no survivability on low health, just before squall line, not a good situation. So he respawns instead. I think that's the right idea, right decision. You know, it gets the enemies to stop tracking you for a little while, and guarantees that you get full health. He was outside the zone, so it doesn't really matter. But it is squall line, so we do have to be careful. There's an attacker, and he's going straight. So yes, this is the situation that you want, but that golden opportunity with him going straight lasted only for a couple seconds, and now he's dodging. Well, okay, he kind of sucked that, but you know, if he was halfway competent whatsoever, especially like if he was a veteran bot. I don't think that guy was a veteran bot, but if he was a veteran bot, it would have taken way longer to get him because of him dodging and stuff. There's a pancake. Overshot him, going too fast. Now that is kind of funny when you have so much airspeed that you're overshooting a pancake. That does not happen very often, so that's always exciting when it does. Going head on with that guy. Ooh, Zam, you lucky little dog, you. Going head on with KI 162. Thing's got like what, 430s or something, and then ramming him and coming out alive. You are very lucky. In all intents and purposes, that should have killed Zem. But it didn't, and it doesn't really matter anyway because the battle's already over. So I guess he was just trying to squeeze out as much damage as he possibly could before the end of the battle. This was 16,500 personal points. Probably about one of the best battles I've seen in the Goblin. I don't think it's really possible to get much higher than that, just because of the length of time it takes to kill targets. If he had 2 more guns, I think he probably could have broken 20k that game. He was doing everything right, doing really well. Or maybe if Slay, didn't kill things so fast and take sectors so quickly, maybe it would have been more even and the battle would have lasted longer. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. But in order to get really good games in this plane, everything has to go right. You have to have every little thing go right, and that's really hard to do. So we're going to take a look at the post-game results real quick. That was the record experience per battle that he's ever gotten. So great jobs on that. In order to get record experience in a plane that's really not quite good at all, and doing just shy of 5,000 damage in it, you really do know how to play this plane very well. Great job. He does make just under 600,000 credits. Might sound impressive, and that is because it is impressive. You're going to really have to have a very, very exceptional game in order to break 500,000 credits in a Tier 8 Premium. So yes, this plane can make credits, and he proved that here. But getting those battles consistently, getting battles even 10,000 personal points can be such a struggle sometimes. As you can see, his setup is clearly not the same, so that's also something to keep in mind. And do I recommend this plane? I think you guys already know. I don't recommend it. It's $70 is too expensive. If you find it on sale for $50, maybe it's worth it to you, but I honestly don't think it's that fun. From what I've seen, I don't think it's that great, and there's much better planes out there. Just find a Tier 8 Premium that you enjoy, especially the RB-17. That thing prints credits like no man's business. So if you want to print credits, I'd recommend that one over this one, despite this plane making more credits in theory. You're going to be making more consistent credits in a Tier 8 Premium. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this slightly different review. Man, it's a little bit difficult for me to commentate replays because I always resort to I. I think it's just kind of ingrained into my brain. But I know that some guys will probably disagree with me, so if you disagree, please leave it in the comment section below so that other people can get a more well-rounded opinion, I guess. But my personal opinion, it's not worth it. Save your $70, especially since the developers have confirmed that there will be a way to earn this plane in the future. So if you want to earn this plane and have it be an actual reward plane, as Wargaming called it, then wait a little while, see what the requirements are to get this plane, and consider getting it at that point. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave comments down below, and I will catch you next time.